There comes a moment in every human life when silence becomes unbearable, when the noise of the world fades, and you are left face to face with the echo of your own thoughts. That moment, whether it finds you in darkness or daylight, in victory or despair, is the moment the truth reveals itself. You become what you believe. It has always been that way. It will always be that way. Every empire, every invention, every transformation began not with action, but with conviction, a belief so powerful that reality itself had no choice but to bend to it. Edison saw light in the dark long before a bulb ever burned. Carnegie built towers in his mind before steel ever rose from the ground. Henry Ford visualized roads filled with cars when horses still ruled the streets. These were not men of luck, they were men of belief. And belief, true belief, is not a wish, it is not a hope, it is a knowing. It's a silent agreement between you and the universe that says, this is who I am, and this is what will be. But most people never reach that place. They talk of dreams, yet speak with the language of doubt. They pray for change, but worship fear. They wait for permission from a world that only answers to those who decide. And so they wander, trapped in the prisons of their own hesitation, blind to the power sitting right behind their eyes. You see, life does not give you what you want. It gives you what you believe you deserve. If deep down you believe you are not enough, life will make sure you are proven right. If you believe the world is unfair, it will confirm your suspicion. But the moment you decide, truly decide, that you are capable, worthy, and destined for more, the universe rearranges itself in your favor. Doors begin to open, people begin to appear, circumstances begin to align. That's not magic, that's alignment. Because belief is the architect of reality. The mind is the blueprint, and your daily actions, those small, seemingly insignificant choices, are the bricks that build the life you live. The difference between the man who conquers and the man who complains is not opportunity, it's conviction. One believes the world owes him nothing, so he builds. The other believes he is powerless, so he waits. You must understand, the greatest power you will ever hold is the power to define yourself. Every time you say, I am, you cast a vote for your future. I am strong, I am focused, I am unstoppable. These are not affirmations, they are declarations of identity. And identity creates destiny. You cannot rise beyond the limits of your own belief. You cannot attract abundance with a mind rooted in lack. You cannot lead others while doubting yourself. Every thought, every emotion, every habit, they all orbit around your internal belief system. That system either imprisons you or it frees you. So if you want to change your life, don't start with your surroundings. Don't start with your circumstances, start with your mind. The external world is only the shadow of your internal one. When a person truly believes, when they make a decision so final that failure no longer exists as an option, reality starts to shift. You begin to think differently. You walk differently. You carry yourself like someone who knows where they're going. That vibration, that unwavering confidence is magnetic. It draws the resources, the people, and the moments you need to fulfill your purpose. Most people never experience that level of belief because they never silence the voice of doubt long enough to hear the truth within. They've been conditioned by fear, by comparison, by the false stories of limitation. But understand this, no one is born believing they are small. That is taught, and what is taught can be unlearned. You can rewire your mind. You can strip away the layers of fear and shame and hesitation. You can remember who you were before the world told you who to be. The child who dreamed without limits still lives inside you, waiting for you to believe again. So, when I tell you that you become what you believe, I am not offering philosophy, I am stating a law. The same law that raised skyscrapers, healed nations, and turned ordinary men into legends. You become what you believe. And the moment you start believing in your infinite potential, life itself becomes your reflection. The mind is a forge, and belief is the fire that shapes destiny. Everything that exists in your life right now, every success, every struggle, every circumstance was first a spark in that forge. You have been crafting your world, consciously or unconsciously, through the stories you've told yourself. The tragedy is that most people are blacksmiths of their own suffering. They hammer doubt into steel, shaping limitation into form. They say, "I can't," and the mind obeys. They whisper, "I'm not ready," and opportunity fades. They convince themselves that life is something happening to them instead of something being built through them. But the truth is relentless. Whatever you feed your mind becomes your reality. Feed it with fear, and your world shrinks. Feed it with vision, and your world expands. It's not about positive thinking, it's about power thinking. Positive thinking hopes for a better tomorrow. Power thinking builds it. Positive thinking says, "I'll try." Power thinking says, "I will." The mind does not follow what you hope for, it follows what you believe in with certainty. Every morning you wake up, your thoughts are asking for orders. What are you commanding them to create? If you begin your day with doubt, you build a day of hesitation. If you begin with gratitude, strength, and purpose, you set a foundation that cannot be shaken by circumstance. That's why your morning matters, not because of routine, but because of direction. You are either programming your mind or letting the world do it for you. Remember, the world profits from your distraction. Companies spend billions to keep you addicted, reactive, comparing, and consuming, because a mind that believes it lacks will always need to buy something to fill the void. But a mind that believes it is enough cannot be manipulated. The disciplined mind is the free mind. And discipline begins with clarity. What do you want, really? Not what looks good, not what pleases others, not what fits into a box that society painted for you. What do you actually desire with every cell in your being? Most people never answer that question with honesty. They chase shadows of other people's dreams, wondering why fulfillment never arrives. Clarity cuts through confusion. It focuses your energy like a laser, burning through doubt and hesitation. When you know where you're going, you stop wandering, you stop wasting time, you stop seeking permission. And once you are clear, belief becomes the engine. You must see your vision so vividly that it feels real before it exists. You must speak of it as if it's already unfolding. You must act as if the world has already agreed, because in truth it has. The moment you commit at the level of identity, the universe begins its silent cooperation. Every great builder, from Da Vinci to Tesla, from Oprah to Musk, understood this. Belief precedes evidence. They didn't wait for signs of success, they created them. They didn't look for proof, they became it. When Thomas Edison was told he'd failed thousands of times, he smiled and said, "I have not failed. I've just found 10,000 ways that won't work." That's not arrogance, that's mastery of belief. It's the refusal to surrender identity to outcome, and that's where most people break. They let a temporary result define their eternal capacity. They fail once and call themselves a failure. They get rejected and decide they're not enough. They confuse feedback for fate. But belief does not bend under pressure, it hardens. True belief gets louder when the world goes quiet. You must learn to walk with your vision even when the path disappears. You must keep the fire alive when no one believes, when no one claps, when the results are invisible. Because the moment you start doubting your own belief, you cut the current that fuels creation. It's easy to believe when things are working. The test is to believe when everything falls apart, to hold your ground in the storm and declare, "I will not break." You were not born to be ordinary. You were born to evolve, to rise, to manifest the greatness that lives dormant within you. And that greatness is not unlocked through talent or luck. It's unlocked through the relentless conviction that you are meant for more. The mind is both your greatest weapon and your greatest enemy. If you do not master it, it will master you. It will use your fears against you. It will build walls of comfort and call them safety. It will keep you small to protect you from risk. But protection is the slowest form of self-destruction. You must train your mind like an athlete trains the body, through repetition, through struggle, through conscious design. Every thought you allow to repeat becomes stronger. Every belief you feed becomes truth. So feed your mind with greatness. Study those who came before you. Absorb the habits of discipline and persistence. Speak words that align with who you want to become. And then act, because belief without action is illusion. The world does not reward potential. It rewards proof. It rewards the man who steps forward despite fear, the woman who dares to begin without certainty, the soul who says, "Even if I fall, I will rise again." You become what you believe, but belief becomes real only through movement. So move boldly, relentlessly, and with the faith that what you seek is already yours. Discipline is the great separator, the invisible line that divides those who dream from those who do. It is the furnace that tempers belief into reality, the steady drumbeat beneath every masterpiece ever built. When people see success, they admire the result, but rarely the ritual. They applaud the glory, but ignore the grind. They want the mountain peak without enduring the climb. But here is the truth most avoid. Belief gives you direction, but discipline takes you there. Without discipline, your vision is just imagination. Without discipline, your desire dissolves into wishful thinking. Discipline is the decision to act on your belief long after the mood has faded. It is the loyalty you show to your future self. Look back across history. The evidence is unmistakable. The Wright brothers weren't chosen, they were disciplined. Walt Disney wasn't lucky, he was disciplined. Abraham Lincoln wasn't gifted ease, he was disciplined. Every titan, every visionary, every conqueror you admire came from the same furnace. Daily decisions repeated until greatness was no longer an accident, but an identity. Discipline is not punishment, it is self-respect. It is choosing what you want most over what you want now. It is the willingness to suffer short-term discomfort in exchange for long-term destiny, and yet most people will trade their future for comfort. They fold under pressure, they choose ease over excellence, they cling to habits that destroy them and call it just who I am. But discipline is not about who you are, it's about who you're becoming. It's about shaping yourself deliberately, sculpting your mind, and chiseling your character until you can no longer be denied. Think of a blacksmith striking iron. He does not expect the metal to form after one strike. He hits again and again with rhythm and purpose until the shape reveals itself. Your life is no different. Every disciplined action is a strike of the hammer. Every act of consistency is heat on the forge. Every day you show up, even when you don't feel like it, bends reality in your favor. Discipline is the highest form of self-love, because when you discipline yourself, you're saying, I refuse to betray my potential. I refuse to sabotage my destiny. I refuse to let the weaker version of me win. People think motivation is the key, but motivation is the spark, while discipline is the engine. Motivation fades, but discipline grows stronger. Motivation pushes you forward, but discipline carries you through storms, setbacks, and silence. You must become the type of person who does the work regardless of the mood. The type of person who outgrows excuses. The type of person who leads their mind instead of following it. Because your mind will offer you comfort long before it offers you greatness. It will whisper excuses. It will justify procrastination. It will protect you from growth in the name of safety. Do not listen. Lead your mind, command it, train it, bend it to your will. If you do not control your mind, someone else will. If you do not build your habits will build your limitations. If you do not discipline your thoughts, they will discipline your life. Greatness requires a price, and discipline is the down payment. You will pay in sweat. You will pay in early mornings and late nights. You will pay in sacrifices no one sees and commitments no one applauds. But the reward is priceless. A life of alignment, a life of purpose, a life you can look back on without regret. Discipline is the bridge between belief and becoming. It's the path you walk when no one is watching. It's the promise you keep to yourself when breaking it would be easier. And when you embrace discipline not as a burden but as a liberation, something extraordinary happens. Your confidence grows. Your self-trust expands. Your mindset sharpens. Your belief deepens. And life begins to respond. Because the universe respects the man who respects his own potential. It rewards the woman who refuses to negotiate with her excuses. It honors the soul that shows up consistently, faithfully, relentlessly. Every disciplined action is a vote for the future you're building. Every choice is a brick in the foundation of your destiny. Every time you choose growth over comfort, you strengthen the identity you are becoming. Discipline is not about perfection, it's about persistence. It's not about intensity, it's about consistency. It's not about talent, it's about tenacity. You become what you believe. But you prove what you believe through discipline. And when your actions and beliefs align, when your daily habits mirror your highest vision, you become unstoppable. Not because life becomes easier, but because you become stronger. Adversity is not the enemy. It is the architect of strength, the sculptor of resilience, the unseen mentor that shapes you into who you must become to hold the life you're asking for. Most people pray for an easier path without realizing that an easier path produces weaker people. But those who rise, those who ascend beyond the limits of their upbringing, beyond the weight of their fears, beyond the gravity of circumstance, they understand something the average mind never learns. Struggle is preparation, pressure is purification, adversity is initiation. You cannot rise without resistance. You cannot grow without friction. A sword is only sharpened against stone. A diamond is only formed under crushing weight. A champion is only revealed in the face of challenge. Life doesn't test you to expose your weaknesses. It tests you to reveal your strength. Think of Abraham Lincoln, who failed in business, lost elections, endured breakdowns, buried children, and still carried the weight of a fractured nation on his shoulders. What kind of mind survives that? Not a soft one, not a comfortable one. A resilient one, forged by adversity, refined by pain, strengthened by every setback that dared to break him.
Think of Walt Disney, fired from a newspaper because he lacked imagination.
He went bankrupt, slept on floors, was rejected dozens of times by banks, studios, and investors, and still he believed. Still he held the vision. Still he built the empire the world now marvels at. People say they want greatness, but few are willing to endure the trials that create it. Because adversity demands more than effort, it demands identity. It asks not, "What do you want?" but "Who are you?" And your answer is not spoken, it is lived. You must learn to see adversity not as punishment, but as potential. The obstacles standing in your way are not blocking you, they are building you. Every challenge strengthens a part of you that comfort would leave weak. Every setback forces you to grow in ways success never could. The struggle is not a detour, it is the path. When the storm arrives, and it will, you must not collapse. You must not shrink. You must not let fear make decisions meant for your destiny. This world has never rewarded those who run from discomfort. It rewards those who stand firm when others flee, those who choose courage over convenience, those who understand that resilience is not inherited, it is earned. And resilience is earned in the moments no one sees. It's earned when you're exhausted but keep going. It's earned when the plan fails but you rebuild it stronger. It's earned when doubt whispers louder than belief, and yet you move forward anyway. Resilience is not an emotion, it is a decision. You decide that quitting is not your language. You decide that failure is feedback, not a finish line. You decide that no matter how many times life knocks you down, you will rise with greater determination than before. Because every time you rise, you tell your mind, "I am stronger than this." And every time you refuse to break, you rewrite the identity of who you are. Understand this. Adversity introduces you to versions of yourself you would never meet in comfort. The strongest parts of your character only emerge when your back is against the wall. Your courage only rises when fear stands in your way. Your faith only grows when doubt surrounds you. So when life challenges you, when it throws chaos, loss, betrayal, or hardship your way, remember this. You are not being punished, you are being prepared. Prepared for the opportunity that requires strength. Prepared for the destiny that requires endurance. Prepared for the dream that requires resilience. Every great story has a breaking point, a moment when the hero is pushed to the edge. But what defines greatness is not avoiding the breaking point. It's confronting it and refusing to break. You have endured storms that would have destroyed others. You have survived nights that felt endless. You have walked through fire and come out with scars, but those scars are not signs of weakness. They are symbols of survival. Proof that you can endure. Proof that you can rise again. Proof that resilience is in your DNA. If you look back on your life, you will see something remarkable. The events that felt like your destruction were actually your reinvention. The pain that felt unbearable taught you strength. The loss that felt unfair taught you gratitude. The failures that felt humiliating taught you humility, wisdom, and adaptability. Adversity is the universe asking you, how badly do you want what you say you want? And your answer is measured not in words, but in resilience. So when the next challenge comes, and it will, do not shrink. Stand taller, breathe deeper, remind yourself, I am built for this, I am prepared for this, I am becoming through this. Because the truth is simple and eternal. The stronger your belief, the greater your resilience. The greater your resilience, the clearer your path. And the clearer your path, the closer your destiny. You become what you believe, and resilient people believe in one thing above all. No matter what happens, I will rise. Life will not always unfold the way you planned. In fact, it rarely does. But this is not a curse, it is an invitation. An invitation to rise above rigid expectations and become something far greater than the version of yourself you once imagined. Adaptability is not the trait of the lucky, it is the weapon of the unstoppable. Because the world does not reward the one who resists change, it rewards the one who masters it. Every era of progress, every breakthrough, every revolution has been led by people who saw change not as chaos, but as opportunity. When Henry Ford introduced the assembly line, he didn't just build cars, he reinvented an entire industry. When Steve Jobs returned to Apple, he didn't try to revive the past, he redesigned the future. When Marie Curie conducted her work, she didn't fear the unknown, she ventured into it, lighting the path for generations to come. These weren't people who clung to comfort, they were people who embraced reinvention, and you must do the same, because the moment you cling to what was, you sacrifice what could be. The moment you resist change, you resist growth. The moment you fear transformation, you block the evolution meant to elevate your life. Adaptability is the art of bending without breaking, and reinvention is the courage to rebuild yourself stronger than before. There will come times when you must let go of who you were to become who you are meant to be. Times when old beliefs no longer serve you, old habits no longer fit you, old environments no longer grow you. These moments are not signs of regression, they are signs of awakening. You are allowed to outgrow your past. You are allowed to evolve beyond your former self. You are allowed to rewrite the story of your life. Because the greatest tragedy is not failure, it's stagnation. The greatest danger is not risk, it's comfort. Comfort is the silent enemy of progress. It whispers, stay here, it's safe. But nothing grows in safety. Nothing expands in predictability. Nothing transforms in the absence of challenge. If the seed refused to break open, the tree would never exist. If the caterpillar resisted the cocoon, the butterfly would never spread its wings. If you refuse change, your potential remains trapped inside the cage of who you used to be. Adaptability gives you the power to meet life as it is, not as you wish it to be. Reinvention gives you the power to become what the moment requires. But how do you adapt? How do you reinvent? It begins with gratitude. Most people misunderstand gratitude. They think it's a gentle feeling, a momentary appreciation, a soft emotion reserved for good days. But true gratitude is a force, one of the most powerful forces in the universe. Gratitude shifts your mind from lack to abundance. It turns obstacles into lessons. It transforms resistance into acceptance. It dissolves fear and amplifies clarity, because the person who is grateful for their present gains power over their future. And the one who is blind to their blessings will remain blind to their opportunities. Gratitude is not passive. It is commanding. It says, I accept this moment fully, and because I accept it, I can use it. It turns adversity into advantage by removing the emotional weight that blinds you from the path forward. With gratitude, you stop asking, why is this happening to me? And start asking, what is this preparing me for? That single shift in perspective is the birth of reinvention. When life changes, the adaptable rise. When challenges come, the grateful learn. When failure strikes, the resilient rebuild.
And when the time comes for transformation, the visionary steps forward without hesitation. You must allow yourself to evolve. You must allow yourself to shed the beliefs that once kept you safe but now keep you small. You must allow yourself to step into rooms your old identity was too afraid to enter. Because the life you want will require a version of you that does not yet exist. And the only way to meet that version is through reinvention. Think of the people you admire most, the creators, the leaders, the champions. Every single one of them experienced a moment where they became someone new. A moment where they let go. A moment where they stepped into a purpose bigger than their past. This is your moment to do the same. Adaptability sharpens your mind, reinvention expands your identity, gratitude strengthens your foundation. Together, they create unshakable momentum, the kind of momentum that carries you through storms and toward the destiny that has been waiting for you to rise. You become what you believe, and if you believe in your ability to evolve, there is nothing in this world that can keep you from transforming your life. There comes a point in your journey where belief, discipline, resilience, and reinvention begin to converge. A point where all the pieces you've been forging in the dark lock into place and reveal something deeper, something that has been calling you long before you had the courage to listen. This is the moment you discover purpose. Purpose is not a career. It is not a goal. It is not a dream neatly placed on a vision board. Purpose is the quiet, steady pulse beneath everything you do. It is the inner compass that aligns your actions with your highest truth. It is the voice that whispers in your darkest nights, "You are meant for more." Most people search for purpose as if it's something hidden out in the world, buried under success, tucked behind relationships, trapped inside achievements. But purpose doesn't live outside you. Purpose lives through you. It reveals itself when you stop running from who you are and start becoming who you were meant to be. But purpose requires alignment, the courage to bring your inner world and outer world into harmony. Alignment is when your thoughts match your values, your actions match your intentions, and your habits reflect your future instead of your past. Alignment is when you stop betraying yourself for comfort, when you stop silencing your vision because it intimidates others, when you stop hiding your greatness to protect someone else's insecurity. Alignment is truth, purpose is direction, belief is fuel, discipline is motion, and when these forces merge, something extraordinary happens. Identity begins to transform. Identity is the core of everything you are. It is the set of beliefs you hold about yourself, beliefs that shape your habits, decisions, relationships, opportunities your entire life. And most people never change their identity. They try to change their behavior while clinging to old beliefs about who they are. They say, "I want to be wealthy," yet believe deep down they are destined for struggle. They say, "I want to be disciplined," yet identify as someone who quits. They say, "I want to be confident," yet hold a story that they are less than others. This is why change feels impossible for so many, because you cannot outgrow the identity you refuse to release. But when purpose enters the picture, identity begins to shift. When you feel called to something greater, you begin to realize that the version of you that played small cannot follow you into the life that awaits. You cannot hold on to fear and step into destiny at the same time. You cannot cling to your excuses and rise into greatness simultaneously. You cannot be loyal to your old story and write a new one in the same breath. Identity transformation begins with a decision. I am no longer available for the life I used to tolerate. I am no longer willing to shrink myself to fit into spaces I have outgrown. I am no longer attached to the patterns that once protected me but now limit me.
This decision is the turning point, the moment the past loses its grip and the future extends its hand.
Every great transformation in history began with identity. Nelson Mandela became a symbol of freedom long before he walked out of his cell. Oprah became a voice of empowerment long before the world knew her name. Da Vinci became a master long before a single masterpiece was painted. Their identity transformed first, and their reality followed. Your identity is not fate, it is a choice. A choice you make through the beliefs you accept, the actions you repeat, and the standards you enforce. Raise your standards, and your identity rises with them. Strengthen your habits, and your identity expands.
Align with your purpose, and your identity ascends to match the calling on your life. And once identity shifts, momentum begins.
Momentum is the invisible force that takes over when belief becomes embodied. It's the acceleration that happens when your vision becomes your default state. When effort turns into ease, when consistency turns into mastery, when the behaviors that once felt difficult become natural because they now match who you believe yourself to be. The world senses identity. People feel it in your presence. Opportunities respond to it. Circumstances adjust to it. Reality bends around it. And the moment you embody belief, not think it, not say it, but become it, life begins to organize itself around your new identity.
Doors open that were once invisible. Ideas flow that were once blocked. People appear who resonate with your direction instead of your insecurity.
You begin to experience synchronicities, breakthroughs, and shifts that feel like destiny. But they aren't destiny. They are alignment. Because when you align belief with behavior, and behavior with identity, and identity with purpose, you enter a state where the extraordinary becomes inevitable.
Not because life gets easier, but because you become clearer. Not because obstacles disappear, but because you become stronger.
Not because success falls into your lap, but because you rise to meet it. Identity is the gateway. Purpose is the compass, belief is the torch, and alignment is the path that carries you forward. You become what you believe. But eventually, when belief becomes your identity, you don't just become, you ascend. There comes a moment, subtle yet seismic, when the weight of your past no longer defines you, and the pull of your future becomes impossible to ignore. A moment when the whispers of your soul grow louder than the noise of the world. That moment is destiny calling. Destiny is not a path laid out for the chosen few. It is the alignment between who you are and who you are willing to become. It is the realization that your life is not happening at random. Every hardship, every triumph, every heartbreak, every victory has been guiding you, shaping you, preparing you for a higher purpose that only you can fulfill. But destiny does not reveal itself to the doubting mind. It does not bloom in the soil of fear. It does not unfold for those who wait for permission. Destiny opens when belief becomes unshakable, when purpose becomes non-negotiable, when identity shifts from I hope to I am. Because destiny requires courage, the courage to leave behind everything familiar, to step into uncertainty, and to trust that what you carry within you is greater than any obstacle before you. Think of every great figure who changed the course of history. Martin Luther King Jr. didn't wait for the world to be ready for his message. He delivered it anyway. Amelia Earhart didn't wait for approval to break limits. She soared beyond them. Leonardo da Vinci didn't wait for validation to explore the impossible. He pursued it relentlessly. They did not follow destiny. They stepped into it. They embodied it. They became it. You must be willing to do the same.
Your destiny is not a destination. It's the unfolding of your highest potential, the gradual unveiling of your truest self.
And the only way to step into your destiny is to step out of your old life. This is where most people hesitate. This is where fear tightens its grip, because the unknown feels threatening, while the familiar feels safe, even when the familiar is miserable. People cling to their limitations because they've worn them for so long. They mistake them for identity. But limitations are not who you are. They are who you used to be. There is a life waiting for you that requires a stronger, bolder, more aligned version of yourself. A version that no longer negotiates with distractions. A version that no longer entertains doubt. A version that no longer fears transformation. To reach that life, you must step boldly into the unknown, not with arrogance, but with conviction, not with fearlessness, but with faith, because faith is not the absence of fear. It is the strength to move forward despite it. Faith is believing in the unseen. Faith is trusting the process when the progress is invisible. Faith is knowing that the vision planted in your soul is not there by accident. It is there because it is meant to be realized. But faith alone is not enough. It must be paired with action, bold, decisive, relentless action. Action is the language of destiny. Action is the signal you send to the universe, declaring, "I am ready." Action transforms belief from internal energy into external reality. The world responds to movement. It rewards those who take the first step without needing to see the entire path. It supports those who trust the rhythm of their purpose more than the comfort of their excuses. When you begin taking action aligned with your highest identity, something extraordinary happens. Resistance weakens, clarity strengthens, and your inner world and outer world begin to merge into one powerful force, and that force is you, not the conditioned you, not the fearful you, not the hesitant you, but the unshakable you, the version of yourself that has always been waiting beneath the noise, beneath the doubt, beneath the weight of everything life convinced you you were not. This unshakable self is forged through belief, strengthened through discipline, awakened through adversity, and revealed through purpose. It is the version of you that no longer asks life for permission, the version that no longer compromises your calling for the comfort of others. The version that recognizes your life is not a series of random moments, but a deliberate unfolding of power, potential, and possibility. This is the you that destiny has been waiting for. The you that rises above circumstance instead of being defined by it. The you that leads instead of follows. The you that embodies belief so deeply that the world has no choice but to respond. Because when a person becomes unshakable, when their identity aligns with their purpose fuels their actions, and their actions reflect their belief, they become impossible to ignore. You become what you believe, and when you believe in your destiny, you become unstoppable. There is a turning point inside every human life, a moment when you stop asking the world to change, and instead decide that you will. A moment when the excuses that once felt so heavy lose their power, and the identity you've carried for years begins to crack open, revealing the strength that was always buried beneath it. Inner mastery begins the moment you realize that your mind is the commander and your life is the battleground. And every thought you entertain, every belief you hold, every word you speak is either moving you toward your destiny or pulling you away from it. This is why belief is not optional, it is foundational. It is the root from which every result in your life grows. It is the architect behind every choice, every action, every habit. You rise the moment you decide that the old patterns, the doubt, the hesitation, the fear no longer get a seat at your table. You rise the moment you choose discipline over comfort, clarity over chaos, purpose over distraction, and progress over perfection. Inner mastery is not about controlling the world. It's about controlling yourself. It's about mastering your reactions, your routines, your energy, your focus. It's the ability to stand calm when the world shakes, to stay centered, when life tests you to remain committed, when nothing is going according to plan. Because nothing worthwhile in this world comes without resistance. Growth demands friction. Greatness demands tension. Destiny demands sacrifice. Think of every legend who carved their name into history. Thomas Edison failed thousands of times before discovering the filament that would ignite the world. He didn't see failure, he saw refinement. Henry Ford was ridiculed, dismissed, and told his ideas were foolish. He didn't see rejection, he saw persistence. Walt Disney was fired for lacking imagination. Bankrupt twice, laughed out of rooms, and yet held onto a vision the world couldn't yet see. He didn't see setbacks, he saw destiny unfolding. These individuals were not lucky. They were not chosen in some mystical way. They became legends because they refused to let their circumstances dictate their belief. They didn't wait for confidence. They acted their way into confidence. They didn't wait for certainty. They created certainty through action. They didn't wait for the world to validate them. They validated themselves through relentless belief. This is inner mastery. This is what separates the extraordinary from the average, not talent, not timing, not opportunity, but belief plus discipline plus persistence, repeated daily, quietly, relentlessly. Inner mastery is built in the moments when no one is watching. When you wake up early to honor your goals while others sleep. When you study, practice, refine, and rebuild yourself while others choose comfort over growth. When you carry a vision so vividly in your mind that the world has no choice but to eventually see it too. Your future is sculpted in the unseen spaces, the early mornings, the late nights, the small decisions that feel insignificant but silently shape your identity. Because identity is not formed in a single moment of inspiration. Identity is forged through consistent choices aligned with who you want to become, and that version of yourself, the strongest, clearest, boldest version, is available to you right now, in this moment, long before the results appear. You do not become powerful when your life changes. Your life changes when you become powerful, and power begins with belief. The belief that you are capable of more. The belief that your past does not dictate your future. The belief that your vision is valid, that your purpose is real, that your destiny is calling your name with every heartbeat. But belief alone is not enough. You must embody it. You must move like a person who expects greatness. You must speak like a person who commands their inner world. You must carry yourself with the quiet confidence of someone who knows exactly where they are going, even if no one else does, because the world does not follow the loudest person in the room. It follows the most aligned, the most committed, the most grounded in who they are. Inner mastery is the art of becoming that person, the person who does not negotiate with distractions, the person who does not collapse under pressure, the person who does not depend on motivation to remain consistent, the person who lives in alignment with their highest identity even when the results are nowhere to be seen. And when you reach this level of mastery, when your belief deepens, when your discipline sharpens, when your purpose strengthens, life begins to move with you, not against you. Opportunities appear, people shift, doors open, circumstances rearrange themselves, not because of luck, but because your inner world has finally aligned with the reality you've been trying to create. You become what you believe, and once you master your inner world, your outer world has no choice but to rise to your level. There is a threshold every person must cross on the journey to becoming who they were meant to be, a line between the life you're living and the life you're capable of living. And most people never cross it, not because they're weak, not because they're unworthy, but because the threshold demands something the average person is unwilling to give, a complete shedding of the old self. To break through, you must be willing to let go of everything that has kept you comfortable, every limitation you've rehearsed, every excuse you've justified, every story you've repeated so many times you began to mistake it for truth. Breakthrough begins with surrender, not the defeat of giving up, but the release of what no longer serves you. You must let go of the belief that you are who your past says you are. You must let go of the idea that your environment defines your destiny. You must let go of the identity that has kept you small, compliant, predictable, and afraid, because the person you must become cannot grow where the old version of you still lives. Breakthrough is not gentle. Breakthrough is not polite. Breakthrough does not knock softly on your door. It arrives like a storm, shaking everything unstable, exposing everything weak, dismantling everything false. It tears down the walls you built around your potential. It strips away every illusion you've been hiding behind. It forces you to confront the truth that you have always been far more powerful than you allowed yourself to believe. And because of this, breakthrough is often disguised as chaos, as loss, as uncertainty, as discomfort. Edison experienced it through relentless failure. Lincoln experienced it through devastating defeat. Disney experienced it through rejection after rejection. Ford experienced it through years of being told he was foolish. But beneath the surface, something else was happening: refinement, strengthening, alignment. Breakthrough rarely feels like breakthrough when you're inside it. It feels like everything is falling apart. It feels like you're losing more than you're gaining. It feels like you're being stretched beyond your limits. But understand this: the life you're meant to live exists on the other side of who you're afraid to become. You cannot become the unstoppable version of yourself while clinging to the identity built on fear. You cannot step into greatness while holding hands with limitation. You cannot rise into mastery while carrying the weight of who you used to be. This is the moment when the universe tests you, not to punish you, but to prepare you, to see if you truly want what you say you want, to see if you're willing to endure the discomfort required to grow into the version of yourself capable of holding the life you desire. Because a small identity cannot sustain a powerful destiny, a fearful mindset cannot hold a bold vision. A hesitant spirit cannot build an extraordinary life. The breakthrough happens when you refuse to retreat, when you keep moving even when the path is unclear, when you act with confidence even in the presence of doubt, when your faith becomes louder than your fear. At this threshold, something profound begins to shift. You stop trying to escape discomfort and start using it. You stop running from uncertainty and start walking toward it. You stop living reactively and begin living intentionally. This is when discipline stops feeling like punishment and starts feeling like alignment. This is when challenges stop feeling like obstacles and start feeling like training. This is when adversity stops feeling like chaos and starts shaping your character. And you realize something powerful. The breakthrough wasn't ahead of you. It was within you the entire time. It was locked behind layers of doubt, conditioned thinking, inherited beliefs, and fears that were never yours to carry. The moment those layers begin to fall away, the real you begins to rise, the you who is bold, intentional, and unshakably aligned with your highest purpose. This version of you thinks differently, acts differently, walks differently, speaks differently, chooses differently, believes differently. This version of you no longer seeks validation because your identity isn't dependent on approval. This version of you no longer chases success because success becomes a natural expression of who you are. This version of you no longer needs motivation because your life is guided by purpose, not emotion. When you cross this threshold, you stop living by default and start living by design. You stop surviving life and begin shaping it. You stop asking for the minimum and start demanding the extraordinary. The world begins to bend in the direction of your belief. The universe begins to respond to your energy. You become a magnet for opportunities, ideas, people, and possibilities because you've finally aligned your inner world with the life you've been trying to create. This is the birth of the unstoppable self, and once this version of you awakens, there is no going back, only forward.